are now inside Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine and my girl Marie, and also our very special guest today. Okay, our guest today is a local film producer and owner of Muganzo. I'm gonna get it right, Entertainment, and she's here today to talk about her upcoming film premiere, which is going to be at the Esquire IMAX Theater regarding Black reproductive justice. I want you to help me welcome Miss Melissa Muganzo Murphy. Did I say it right?
Melissa Muganzo Murphy.
There you go. Is it like Nigerian, African? Where's the last name?
Yes, Kenyan.
Okay, Kenyan. Okay. So I'm going to get it right in a couple days.
Okay.
I'm going to have it right.
Right. Got to practice.
Well, she has a new film that's important to us just as African Americans, period. And not just us, also to Black women. First, I want to applaud you for bringing this to the screen. Our stories.
Thank you.
And it's going to be at the Esquire IMAX opening July the 6th. It's going to be a red carpet event. I want to make sure you guys go and get your tickets. We're going to give you all the details. But first, welcome again.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Charmaine.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely. And it's called the BIG HYSTO Black Womb Revolution.
That's right.
Girl, tell us all about this film.
Yes. So what's going on, everybody? Melissa Muganzo Murphy. My pronouns are she, they, and sis. I am the CEO of Muganzo Entertainment and executive director and producer of the BIG HYSTO, a Black Womb Revolution. You know, for myself, I'm a fibroid survivor. For 15 years, I was dealing with crazy symptoms all in my body, telling people that I was going through all these symptoms, and they were like, it's normal, it's hella normal. Oh, you know, Black women have all these challenges. It's like, it was just very normalized and very washed off until one day a family friend, a Black nurse practitioner, looked at me and saw me suffering and was like, oh girl, you have fibroids, and I could tell you that because you're Black, that's what you need to do. They're not going to authorize a hysterectomy, because I actually begged for a hysterectomy because I knew that I didn't want to birth children in any capacity. You know, I felt mothery, but I didn't want to birth children. So I asked, with all those symptoms, I was like, you can get rid of all this. It can go. And I was 23.
Wow.
And a female doctor said, absolutely not, because one day you're going to get married and your husband is going to be mad that you cannot produce children. And I was like, girl, I'm gay. So it was really interesting, but for her to look at me in that way and say, I'm going to deny this, because they had the power to refer me, right, to next steps, but instead say, it's just a no, right? I'm just going to say no right now. And so sorry. So I was still going through all these symptoms, and the nurse practitioner was like, we're going to put you through a holistic cleanse. And that actually resolved all of my symptoms. But for a really long time, I bled for like 6 months straight.
Ooh.
Wow.
And I was telling the doctor, like, hey, something's not right. They put me on birth control. That made it worse. Put me on more birth control. That made it worse. And so finally, a Black nurse practitioner saved my life. And so this film is dedicated to her. She's actually no longer with us. She's in me, ancestral form. But I'm very thankful to her. Shout out to Susan for, doing what she had to do to save my life. Because this project and myself, I wouldn't be here without her diagnosing me.
Now, what was the holistic cleanse that she recommended for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went vegan. I was drinking a lot of herbal teas like black cohosh, raspberry teas. I also went on a herbal cleanse. My godmother is a clinical herbalist, and so she has a colon cleanse, and she calls it the skinny formula. And I went through all of that for 3 months. And I mean, cold turkey. It wasn't like I led up to this. It was just like, I have to do this in order to save my sanity, right? Because I was anemic. I was feeling faint. I was wearing black all the time because I know if it was going to be a straight spill at any given point. I had a lot of anxiety because I was, worried I was going to bleed all over the place. My acne was out of control. I had headaches. I was fainting. I had hormonal challenges all the time. My weight gain was just out of control. And the doctor just was like, you want some more birth control? No, I do not. I'm falling apart here.
Wow.
So that was the cleanse for 3 months, and literally went from a 6-month bleeding stint to only having a 2.5 day period. No cramps, lost 25 pounds, acne went away. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait.
Just balanced you out.
What? So I went through all of this hormonal dysfunction just for me to just do my own cleanse and heal myself? That's wild. That's wild. You would think I would learn, but I was like, okay, now that that's over, where the chicken at? What's up? What's up?
Fish.
Okay, just living my best life. And then when I turned 27, my fibroids came back with the vengeance this time.
Really?
And then that's when I made the decision, like, this is the cleanse for life.
Just to stay in that place.
Yeah, because they weren't going to approve me getting a hysterectomy because of my age, and I hadn't had children. And I guess they have people that come in that are regretful. And so, but still, right, it's individualized care, right? You can't make these blanket statements for people. So, yeah.
Wow. So now that you've been back on your cleanse, So is your periods now back to 2 days?
Yeah, so I don't have cramps anymore.
Good.
I don't have cramps anymore. I have probably like a 3.5 day like menstruation cycle. But yeah, it's just a completely different experience. I don't have the back pains. I don't have headaches. I don't have cystic acne anymore. Like, I just don't.
Cystic acne.
Yeah. I mean, as Black women, our bodies, first of all, our bodies are perfect. So we're going to do what we're going to do weight-wise. But I'm definitely not at the place where I'm traumatically, like, 25 pounds heavier and then 25 pounds smaller. Like, all of that stuff was too much. It was too much for my body to take. So now I'm at a regulated and cute, thick size. You feel me?
Okay.
But I'm just way more regulated now, and that feels really good.
Okay. Well, you said something I thought that was really powerful. You talked about your Black female practitioner. Now, what if someone doesn't have a Black female practitioner or a Black physician to tell them, hey, this is what you have?
Absolutely. So the interesting part about it is Susan was actually my childhood dance instructor. So I always knew she was a nurse.
Right.
It was like, oh, there go Auntie Susan, she's a nurse. That was it. But it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized what a nurse practitioner does and why it was important for her to be in my life at that time. And so I feel like there's a number of youth out there that probably got an auntie or a neighbor that probably does something and they just like brush it off. And then you get older, you like, wait, what? Auntie Sharon was a physicist? That's crazy, So that's what happened. So she wasn't my primary care physician, but she was just one of the people that I went to church with. She was very cool. But when I was having symptoms, my mom called, like, what's going on with my daughter? And she was like, I'm going to tell you right now, it's boom, 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 boom. But the most important thing is knowing what questions to ask in the hospital and how to advocate, and always doing it via email. A lot of times we like to talk to our doctors one-on-one in appointments, and that can get brushed off because after that it's hearsay. Oh, I think what I heard is, you write that thing down in an email in that portal. And you get very specific. I would like to be referred to the hospital's endocrinologist. That's the hormone doctor in the hospital, right? So you can get tested for PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, ovarian cysts. They could see that. I would like to get an ultrasound in writing to see what's going on with my womb. And then share the pictures with me, right? That language in writing is more important than, hey, I'm going to go talk to my daughter. I think I want an ultrasound. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. You have to be confident and sure about what you want in writing.
Oh, that is so good. We're going to talk more about that. When you say in writing, like you said, knowing the language, I want to find out, how do you find out the language? Yeah. And we're going to be talking about that when we come back. With Lady Charmaine Live.
You're listening to Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine.
You're now back inside Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine, my girl Marie, and also Melissa Muganzo Murphy.
Hey!
She getting it.
And we are talking about her new film. It's entitled The Big Hysto, A Black Womb Revolution. It is going to be at the IMAX Theater on July the 6th. It's a Wednesday. They got a red carpet. They're rolling out the red carpet just for you. She won't blackity black everything.
That's right.
That's what's up.
Blackity black. I feel like
Because I'm
Kendrick
black,
Lamar.
y'all.
Black on black.
Hey!
That's what we got popping off on July the 6th. First, let people know where they can purchase their tickets.
Absolutely. So you can purchase at muganzoentertainment.com, and I'm going to just do it phonetically for y'all. M as in Mary, U as in umbrella, G as in George, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, Z as in Zebra O, entertainment.com, or you can go to the Esquire IMAX's website, and I'm right there in the middle of the front page.
Muganzo Murphy. I think I got it. Okay.
Okay. See, that's what she did.
I got it now. So we're talking about Black women in our health and knowing the proper language to use to get the help you need. She also mentioned before the break, she mentioned about putting it in writing. So for those of you who may even have Kaiser, if you have an access to the email to your physicians, put it in writing and say what it is you need. She said, don't say what you think you need. Tell them what you need. So it's in writing. So you have a paper trail for just in case something happened. And then I want to put this in there as well. Make sure that you have someone that you legally put down that they can get access to your records. I found that very important when my mother passed away because they were trying not to give me my mother's records. But thank God she had me down and I was able to get those records because they tried everything. They looked at the records 2 or 3 times to make sure that because of what they did. And they didn't want me to know. So make sure that you have that. So then you be able to get the emails, you get access to everything. Mm-hmm. So go ahead, sister.
Yeah, it's important to know that you can have a patient advocate. For some people, you can identify a family member, but hospitals also have a patient advocate too, right? Because sometimes people are like, I may have to be put to sleep, right? I may have to have a surgery. Something may happen when I'm sleeping. And so I need somebody there when I can't speak for myself.
Correct.
That is in agreement with me legally to say, like, this is what I want to happen.
Correct.
If that advocacy, but for us as Black folks, sometimes we can be too trusting because we see a white coat, we see a title, we see that MD, we're like, the savior. But in reality, we all have our biases, right? And we're all in this human experience together. And what people tend to forget is that you know your body the best, right? You're in your body the most. So how is another person supposed to tell you what feeling is normal and what's not, right? You know, especially because science is growing every day. It's evolving every day. So sometimes things are undiscovered. So it's important to be like, I've been twitching for the past 7 days and it don't be twitching like that. And I want to write it in an email. Actually, I'm going to put it in an email right now. I told my doctor my eye was twitching, right? That's important. The other thing is our community, we are the only community that's ashamed to request Black physicians. Other communities will be like, I want an API doctor, I want an API nurse, I want a Latinx-based African. We're the only ones like, y'all got any? And we do that little finger on our hand where it's like, you got any other people that look like me in here? But we need to be vocal about that. Like my primary care physician, I would like a Black female doctor. If that person is of this expertise in this hospital, I would like to choose that person. That's why they have these pictures on these portals so you can go and select your daughter. They'll tell you, or your doctor, they'll tell you how many languages, where they went to school, where they grew up, what their affinities are. So you can be like, wow, for example, wow, I know Melissa, she's from South Sac, she went to X high school. Like that may be a point of where you're like, oh, that's officially my homegirl. I want my homegirl as my doctor, right? And that's very Black, culturally specific, and that's just an example. But you can do that, right? You have autonomy over your body. We all have agency, and it's just up to us to just tap into that.
Now, I'm gonna tell you this story because one of my children had a Black doctor long time ago. But when my daughter, she had an issue with her foot, and she would get these cramps really, really bad, and it was going on for a couple of years. And the only thing her Black physician requested was she eat bananas.
Wow.
It's your face expression.
And so here's the thing too, and I feel like, first of all, I'm so sorry.
I'm like, can she see a podiatrist? Anything, because this has been going on now. She didn't eat the bananas. We didn't change the shoes.
Couple of years of bananas.
And waking her up at night, I can't sleep. So you got any other recommendations besides changing the shoes and eating bananas? So why don't you get the foot check?
Right.
X-ray MRI. Yeah, there you go. That's all I wanted to say.
And it's interesting too, because I feel like I've also realized that there is also this bigger system at play. I think about people that go into industries that are controversial and they're well-meaning, and they go in and they're like, I'm gonna fight for justice, and in 3 years they right there with everybody else doing the same thing. But it's these systems, and I know a couple of Black physicians that have said, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my license. If I don't sign off on this, if I don't write this prescription, these are systems, right, in place to force you into assimilating. And so it's important. That's why the writing is really, really important. It's not, we can't just connect on a human level and we just left it up for interpretation. Like, I need to be very clear in writing. So, yeah.
So what if a person don't know how to write?
Absolutely. This is where you go to the doctor with a family member, a friend, a coworker, and you say, this is my patient advocate that I'm bringing in with me into this hospital, and I want them to take note of everything that's going on, right? And nobody's going to be upset about that, right? I know in COVID that was a little bit more difficult, and they moved into virtual appointments, and even then it's like, I'm bringing my family friend, my patient advocate with me into this call, because it's a Zoom call. And I understand sometimes there's a language barrier. And for myself, I didn't go to medical school, so I don't even know medical language myself. I'll be going in there like, I think it's called I Googled it, but I can't pronounce it, but here's my phone, right? So, yeah. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself.
It's so funny because, well, it's not funny because I've had a couple of medical incidences myself, right? So one of my first ones when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, and I think I was like 28 years old, and so this was like my first pregnancy because I miscarried twins, and then I got pregnant with her, and I never forget. I couldn't go to work that day because my lower back was hurting really, really bad, and I was only 25 weeks pregnant, and so later on I would go to the restroom and I would go to urinate, but then I noticed water kept coming out, and I was like, but that ain't the right hole, right? And so then, it would only happen when I would go to the bathroom to go urinate. So then all of a sudden I started like this, like really thick stuff start to come out. I know it sounds graphic, but I'm being honest. So I'm like, okay, well, gosh, well, what is that? So I called the doctor several hours later because I noticed when I was laying down in the living room, I ended up being on all fours. You know, my hands, and I was like, gosh, my back is really hurting. So then I started noticing these knots start to come up on my stomach, right?
Oh, my God.
So then I called labor and delivery, and I talked to one of the nurses, and I told her what was going on. So, she kept putting me on hold. She's like, can you hold a moment? I said, yes. So I told her, I was feeling these cramps, and I seen these knots. And so she said, well, how often do you feel them? So I told her, I said, I noticed every time you put me on hold, because I had to look like, I said, I feel like they're coming like every 3 minutes or something. She said, oh, you're just saying that because you're anxious because I'm putting you on hold. And I'm like, well, no.
I hate when
but when you're on hold, you're paying attention to minutes because you're on hold.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she told me, she said, well, after I told her all of my symptoms and what I was experiencing, she said, well, if you come tonight, the doctor's is going to send you home because all he's going to say is that you have a yeast infection. And he's going to send you home. So you might as well just come tomorrow.
How are you diagnosing me on the phone?
Right.
Oh, my God.
There you go. So you might as well just come tomorrow. So I said, okay. So then after I got the phone, I heard the voice, which I knew it was the Lord. Go to the hospital. So I called my husband. He was at work. My husband came home, took me to the hospital. The doctor checks me. He comes back. He said, did you fall? I said, no. So he said, did anything happen? I said, no. He said, well, when we checked you, he said, you've lost half the water in your water bag and you lost your mucus plug. So you're going to have to go to Walnut Creek and be in the hospital for 3 months.
Oh, my God.
Unfortunately, you're going to have your legs up so the baby don't slide out because you've already started dilating. I was dilated 2.5 centimeters.
And he was opening up.
Right.
Wow.
So my uterus, so I was dilating. So I was in labor. And so that's what was going on. She was not supposed to diagnose, so they had to rush me by ambulance all the way to Walnut Creek, and they couldn't keep her in there any longer. So I ended up delivering her by emergency C-section because she was breech. Emergency C-section. And so the doctors came in after I had her. So they had to reprimand the nurse because they said she's not supposed to diagnose you, especially with you being 6 months. And so my doctor said if you would have been at home and if you would have pushed, she would have slid out in the toilet. So thank God I went to the hospital.
See.
And so that's where she was for 6 months.
It's so important to share stories like that because I think for a number of people, and this is why this document is so important, is that when we think about medical racism, medical bias, medical sexism, medical history, we tend to think about this, oh, that's the 1800s. Oh, that's the early 1900s. But you need to see how it shows up in present day. You need to know what that looks like, what that sounds like, what that feels like, so you can be prepared to call it in that moment. You need to be prepared for that. And that's unfortunate that Black folks have to take that type of responsibility in correcting that. But these are real things that are happening. People, present day. This is not like, oh, this is 100 years ago. Right. No, this is right now. This is 5 years ago, 10 years. We're all walking testimonies, right? Our children are walking testimonies, and it's really important. I was talking to my homegirl the other day. I was like, how many of us have actually talked to our parents about our birthing story, right? Because to our knowledge, we just arrived, and that's when the magic happened. But we don't know how many times they tried to get pregnant, if they lost babies, if their wombs had challenges, especially with the language we know now. Some of that language wasn't developed yet. So I know if you're like my family, it's like, oh, yeah, she got the sugar. Okay, now what the hell does that mean?
What's the sugar?
Okay. Oh,
pressure.
Okay. Oh, she always bleeding. Okay, wait a minute. What does that mean?
And gout's the answer for everything.
Okay. Oh, she got that thing in her foot. No, I don't know what that means. The language wasn't really there. And especially when we talk about, access to, education and all that stuff for Black folks. So it's just important for stories like that to be shared, because I'm telling you, there's probably going to be somebody the audience is going to be like, that happened to you too? I thought it was just me, because we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it, yeah.
And I love sharing my stories, because even when I got pregnant with my second daughter, Serenity, and I went into labor with her at 5.5 months when I was at work. And And the thing that was a trip, first, I wasn't even going to check me. They were going to send me home, right? They're going to send me home. But before that, I had went seen a nurse. I went and seen a doctor. And I was telling her how I had my first baby because they said, when I got pregnant with my daughter, they said, because you are a high-risk pregnancy, you need to let your doctors know because you're high risk. Because I had my first one at 5.5 months. And they said you could even have your second one if you get pregnant again, even earlier. So now, it felt like my daughter, it felt like if I sneezed, she was going to, just slide on out or something with my second child, right? Because she rode so low. So I finally ended up going to Kaiser because I was in so much pain and I was just cramping down there. And do you know that woman told me, she said, if you were to deliver your baby, I was 5.5 months, she said, we would just wrap her up and just let her die in your arms because there's nothing that we can do to save her. That's what she told me. So I walked out of there in so much pain, sitting on the floor in the hallway in Kaiser because I could barely walk. Well, needless to say, I ended up going into labor at work. I went to the hospital. Wasn't even going to check me. The lady said, we're just going to go ahead and send you home. Thank God. She said, well, you know what? I would just check you before you leave, right? It seemed like she just got this revelation. Well, that's why I'm here. She said, oh, my goodness. She said, we have to take you off work. She said, because your daughter is sitting so low, her feet are kicking my fingers. That's why and I felt her. It felt like if I sneezed, she was just she said her feet are kicking my fingers. And so I was off work on bed rest, strict bed rest, couldn't go up and downstairs. I had to have a refrigerator and microwave in my bedroom because they didn't want me to walk nowhere because of that. But the thing that was the deepest thing, my uterus cannot go into labor because if it does, me and the baby could die because it can burst.
Yes.
So pregnancy for me was very dangerous. That's why when I had my son, very dangerous. So that's why doctors needed to pay attention to what was going on with me because it was life and death situations.
Her story really does bring on the seriousness of standing up for yourself as well. No, you're not going to send me home. I'm not going home. Something's wrong, and you're going to check me before I leave. And I've been guilty of not pushing that.
We all have.
And my reasons were of I can't be off work. I can't be, these weird excuses that we have, which makes it more easier for them to say, yeah, go ahead, go home.
Right.
Like I was having high blood pressure. And I went to the emergency room and I was in there for a very long time. And the doctor came in and she was like, well, how do you feel now? I said, I feel a little bit better. Didn't take my blood pressure, nothing. Okay, well, if the headache stopped, we're just going to let you go. And then when I got home, I was thinking, I could have really had something going on with me. I could be at home about to die, and it's because my blood pressure 220 over 180. And she just let me go. So with you telling your stories and listening, the importance of just really pushing the issue, I don't know why some of us are afraid of that.
And because we're very trusting. I think us as African Americans, we are very trusting. I know I was.
Right.
I have to say was now. Because I've had too many life and death experiences. Because with that last daughter I told you, I ended up having to have a C-section with her. And I just so happened to hear the room go quiet. You can hear a pin drop. And I saw a nurse running out the room. So I said to my doctor, is everything okay? Because first y'all just sitting there talking. And then she goes, oh, we just nicked your bowel. And so we just have to bring a surgeon in. So we're going to put you out, okay? So not really explaining to me the seriousness of it. So they came in, they put me under, and they cut my small bowel. But didn't tell me the seriousness of it until almost 3 years later, it came loose. And I was going to the doctor, and they said I had a virus, not knowing that my bowel had broken, and now I could have sepsis. What's going on is now poisoning my body. So now I'm in the hospital, because. And so the doctor says to me, they didn't tell you that if you feel a stomach cramp to come in. They never told me anything.
Nothing.
So even to this day, I have to be on high alert if I have a stomach cramp that lasts too long, because it can break loose at any time.
And I'm really glad you brought that. There's so many things I want to share. And I want to first say, for anybody that's listening that is experiencing this and you're recognizing like me too, or like I've found since making this movie, my neighbor, my auntie, my I think I remember my mother. Those stories start to come up. it's not too late to begin to advocate for yourself.
Correct.
It's not too late. The other thing is to recognize too, like, society capitalizes and monetizes pain. For example, when I stopped having cramp from my menstruation, do you know how often I was told cramps are a rite of passage? Like, you get PMS. PMS is normal. No, it's not. Our bodies are like engines, right? When there's a headache, a cramp, a pain, that's our body saying, hey, because we're not supposed to be living in pain, right? We're wonderfully made. We're perfect human beings, right? And so if something is off, wow, my arm is throbbing. I have a headache. Oh, this is a check engine light.
Right.
But because we have normalized it, especially as Black women, don't complain. Don't complain, Black girl. Don't do that.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Don't share your emotions.
Right.
Don't share your frustrations. You don't want to be deemed as a complaining or angry Black woman. You don't want to be deemed as that highly emotional Black woman. No, how about we're emotionally intelligent, right? How about we're emotionally centered? All of that is monetizing, which is why we have more Midol, Tylenol, Aleve, Pamperins. There's money to be made there off of numbing that pain versus addressing the root cause of that, right? The fact that they told you if you have a cramp, you need to come in. Most people say if I have a cramp, I'm going to take a Tylenol.
Because see, the thing
And
is,
still go to work.
I was blessed not to have menstrual cramps.
Nice.
So whenever I would have just one cramp to let me know it was that time. So when I would have stomach cramps, I knew something was wrong.
See?
Because I didn't, I wasn't blessed like many to have the menstrual cramps. And so when I did, something is not right.
Something's not right.
If I got more than 2 or 3, let's check this out.
Something's up.
Yep, says something's wrong. And so that was my cue to let me know that something was wrong. And it always was.
Yeah.
And to address what you were saying about speaking up and made to feel like, oh, you're just doing too much, I would go through that with my doctors. And I would have to really pray before I went in to some of the doctors I've had to sound normal.
To not cause a scene?
To keep myself, It's because automatically they're going to think, oh, because I've had a doctor say, oh, I think, I'm having this pain. Something is happening on this part of my body. I don't know what it is. This is what happens when it flares up. Something's going on. Oh, well, there's nothing there to hurt like that. And automatically you're like, you telling me what I'm experiencing doesn't exist and you're downplaying it. So I would have to really bring myself down in order to try to communicate with people who are waiting for you to act out of pocket.
Right.
So they can tell you, well, man, you're stressed out, it's high blood pressure, and hit you with the stereotypical things that Black people have. And then just look at you like, it'll get better.
Well, it goes through a history of medical racism, right? And that it's about how the medical system got started, right? We're all victims in that. And some of the way that we're treated, a lot of the ways that we're treated is because of this 200-year history of how this whole thing got started.
Right. Yeah.
The research never included us, right? So when we come in with our challenges, of course they don't know about it. The research didn't include us. When we think about how to heal, no one was trying to heal us, right? We were the experiments.
Correct. Right.
So we're just getting that feeling of what it's like to not be included in the healing.
I had a friend who mentioned they had took their dad to the hospital and their dad was in pain. But the doctors didn't want to give him pain medicine because the reason was because Black people are strong and we can handle
Your
I know
pain
exactly
a lot
where
more
that
pain.
is
And we
higher.
have a higher pain tolerance.
And you know who said this, right?
Who?
The father of gynecology, the one that started all of this, the American medical, J. Marion Sims. The slave owner that opened the first women's medical hospital, but it was a slave quarters in his backyard. He did the research on over 300 slaves and said, wow, they take pain differently. Well, they're scared for their life. So he wrote in his biography, 471 pages. Black people don't experience pain the same way white folks do. They have a higher tolerance.
And they still believe
Pass
that.
it down.
Yeah, they still believe that to this day.
That is so sad. Well, we're going to take some calls. So if you have a story that you would like to share, give me a call. 916-921-5333. We are talking to Melissa Muganzo Murphy.
Yes, girl!
Melissa Muganzo Murphy.
better
She
than
has
me.
a film that's going to be hitting the red carpet July the 6th, which is next Wednesday.
So wild.
It's going to be at the IMAX Theater. It's called The Big HYSTO, a Black Womb Revolution. Make sure you go online to muganzoentertainment.com and get your tickets to go to IMAX.
That's right. That's why IMAX.com.
And get your Not you'll get your tickets.
Come on.
How you like, Lady Charmaine? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Sacramento, and my name is Adrian. Hi.
Hi.
So first, before I get into my testimony, and I appreciate you guys, I'm gonna try not to cry because I'm driving.
Okay.
But
we're here if you need it. We're here.
I just heard about this station yesterday. I'm new to the area.
Okay.
And so I just heard about the station. I get in my car and I hear you guys talking. And everything you've said has been spot on. There's nothing that I don't think the next person can say that wouldn't be any different. And recently, I was having a lot of pain in my abdomen. I was feeling like I was getting stabbed. And because I'm from SoCal, the Kaiser up here couldn't link my Southern California Kaiser. So they kept saying I didn't have insurance. And I do, right? And so I kept saying, hey, I'm in pain. I'm having these bad cycles. I need help. They said, oh, you're starting menopause. I said, well, look, I'm 43 years old. Oh, well, it could be on your mom. It depends on what your family history was. Well, my mom passed away 8 years ago. But I remember my mom being 43, she didn't have menopause. So I said, okay, that's not the case. I said, please, can you check? Well, I had my tubes tied when I was 24. So they were like, no, you're just starting menopause early. They told me this for 2 years. Finally, I said, I can't take the pain anymore. Put me on a birth control, a very low dose. Just let's control the bleeding. Let's control the pain. It got worse. So I begged the doctor. I had 4 doctors tell me, men, women, none of them were African American, tell me it was menopause. I had them check my blood levels. I was asking for the test. Finally, I asked them, please just give me an ultrasound.
Yes.
Appease me, because I pay a lot of money for my insurance. Appease me and give me an ultrasound. They gave me an ultrasound, and they found out that I had fibroids that were degenerating. And the difference of that is it can either be a sign of pregnancy, which, hello, my tubes are tied, so it better not be nobody pregnant. And 2, it could be a sign of cancer. And so I took the test. I did the ultrasound on a Saturday. The same doctor that told me to take an 800 milligram ibuprofen, and I said, I will not take medication. I'm an herbalist, so anything that's not natural, I'm not messing with it. And you're telling me to take 800 ibuprofen, there's something wrong. I'm not going to mask the pain. She called me in 2 days and said, I need you to go into a surgeon immediately.
See?
After the surgery, so then they tell me they have to take the whole uterus, which I said, okay, my kids are grown, so there's no way. So go ahead and take the uterus. And so they did that, after which they had told me, okay, we can't test for cancer if it stays in. I said, all right, that's fine, take it. I was having extreme pain. I couldn't use the restroom after the surgery. I couldn't use the restroom. I didn't feel bathroom filling anymore. I felt pressure. Everything was pressure. I didn't know if I had to go potty, if I had to go number 2. It was all pressure. So I went to Kaiser, again, up here. They, in excruciating pain, crying, telling them I just had surgery 4 days ago, and they left me sitting in the waiting room. Even another gentleman, Caucasian man, was like, please, she needs help. And they said, we know she's in pain, and they left me in the waiting room. I went to Kaiser South. I said, let me go where the black people go, okay? I went to Kaiser South. They got me in quickly. Morphine, boom. Found out my colon was swollen, and I had fluid in there. That's why it was causing me so much pain. I said, I will never go back to the Kaisers up here, up on this side of town that I'm in. I will go. They got me in quick. They said that Kaiser South is faster, because I thought, well, maybe that might be a little bit questionable. No, it was cleaner. They treated me better, and they got me medicated immediately. I try to teach my kids the same thing, because now we're, like you guys said, we have a different voice. We have different language. We understand what the sugar means. Because I didn't know diabetes was sugar until I was like 20.
Right.
But I was like, oh, that's what that is.
Right.
That's funny.
So, like, we have the language now. And I tell my kids, and now my insurance covers my kids until they're 27. I got kicked off of my parents' insurance at 18, quickly. So I tell my kids, use this what you have. Go get your teeth checked. There's no reason why you shouldn't be running out without the care. If I'm over here, I don't work for the paycheck. I really don't. I work for the medical and the fact that it covers that.
Right.
So, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate listening. I appreciate being part of that story because there's so many of us that are. And like you guys said, if you are saying, hey, that sounds like something me too, and it may be nothing. I'd rather them tell me it's nothing.
Yes.
But they told me it was nothing for 2 years and it was something.
It was a big something.
Oh, sister, thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day.
You too,
And
love.
don't forget to get your tickets for this film. It is going to be Wednesday, July the 6th. Please come on out to the red carpet. It's going to be right here at the IMAX. You can go online to
MuganzoEntertainment.com or EsquireIMAX.com.
There you go.
Yes,
So we look
I will
forward to
see
seeing
you.
you.
Guys there.
All right.
Thank
See you on the red
you.
carpet, sis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We are talking about our stories. It's the Big Hysto, a black womb revolution. Hysto stands for hysterectomy.
That's right.
Okay. Hysterectomy. So if you battled fibroids and you have a fibroid story or just a story period of just being black and with a lack of personal care, because I know I did. And I just thank God that I'm here today.
I know.
Because I would have been gone a few times.
It's wild.
And unfortunately, my mom didn't make it because of that. But I'm going to keep her name alive. You're tuned into Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine.
You're listening to Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine.
You're now back inside Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine, my girl Marie, and our very special guest, Melissa Muganzo Murphy. I'm getting it, y'all. And we are back because we're going to be talking about what does the black womb revolution really mean?
Yeah, I've had people ask me like, oh, this really is impacting black women. It is, but it really is impacting womb holders, right? It's important for people to realize that there are people that do not identify as women that are also being mistreated in the hospital and also have wombs. When I think about our transgender family or non-binary family or even like our queer family members where people will assume certain things about a body because of what they see physically, that is mistreatment. I've had a number of trans men say like, they won't even come and talk to me, right? They won't treat me, right? I menstruate and I need additional help. I want to have a hysterectomy. I want to take care of fibroids. I have endometriosis, but they'll be like, oh, can't help you. I don't feel like I'm competent in your body and supporting you as a patient. And so not only are they dealing with the racial discrimination, but they're dealing with transphobia, homophobia, sexism, and I think about our black family members that are, not U.S. born, right? We're talking about, for me, I'm African and West Indian. So someone like my father, right, could come into the hospital who's black identified, but because maybe he has an accent or the English maybe not be his first language. So you talk about, we don't have the medical terminology. English is a wild language, okay? Just think about the word knife. Why is there a K in there, right? So literally, people are coming into the hospital seeking help and justice, but because I don't say the right thing, therefore I'm supposed to not be treated the same, or because I don't have any characteristics that you were taught in your textbook that says this is how I'm supposed to identify if I'm this person, I don't deserve to give you care. That is unacceptable. So I say a black womb revolution, one, because the world doesn't move without a healthy womb, right? We all come a womb that sacrificed, and the next generation is also going to need healthy wombs to be here. And it doesn't matter what gender that womb is inside of. It really is about a healthy womb that's taking care of the body. The other thing is that the womb, the uterus is a storage. And I've learned that, shout out to Angela Harris, it is a storage, right? So we think we store stuff in our heart, in our brain, in our gut, but the uterus is also holding things. So impurities, toxins, hormonal dysfunction is also held in there. So whether you plan to have children or not, right? That womb is holding on to whatever detriments are happening in your body. And if you don't release that, cure that, heal that, resolve that, that can impact everything. Your bloodstream, your heart, your legs, your brain, migraines, all that can come because your uterus, your womb is not taken care of. This whole this whole body we call dysfunction that's holding us together, it's all interconnected, right? And so it really is about the healthiness of the womb in general, which is why it's a womb revolution. It's not just a black girl issue. Specifically in this day and age, when we put something that woman on it, people reduce the need for it. They're like, oh, that's the women's health issue. Oh, that's just angry women, right? Instead of saying this is a global social justice issue, right? This is everybody all over the world needs a healthy womb to be able to survive, whether you're childbearing or not, you know?
That is so good, because one thing, I love everything you're saying. So I want to remind everyone to make sure you go online to MuganzoEntertainment.com to get your tickets, or go to IMAX Theaters next Wednesday. The red carpet kicks off at 6 p.m. And it's going to be black, blackity, black. So make sure you come on down. Make sure you come on down. And when I looked at some of the cast members that was in there, come to find out there's people that I knew that was in here. Plus, one of them is 97's own Miss Wanda. She's also going to be in it as well. My friend Molly is in it. And also one of the Lady Charmaine Live sponsors, clinician Angela Harris, who's also a friend of mine and also does my services from Wellness of Life.
That's right.
So I look forward to seeing this. Again, thank you so much for doing this film and bringing this to the attention, I'm going to say, of the world. I pray that God opens the door for this film.
Charmaine, talk your talk, Charmaine.
Because it's a film that needs to be seen, because it's sharing our story and our plight, and it even goes beyond fibroids, just the medical system, period.
Absolutely.
That we care, that we need care, proper care, and that we matter.
Absolutely.
Literally, Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely. Like, this is what we mean when we say we matter.
We matter.
This is what that means.
Right.
Yeah.
Black lives do matter. Black wombs do matter.
Yes.
We matter.
Yes.
And I think that right there is so important. Again, thank you so much to you, your team. I want to remind everybody to make sure you go online, get your tickets, MuganzoEntertainment.com, and get your tickets. Get a few and bring your friends out. She said we may need some tissues, y'all.
We might.
Some tissues. But come on out and support this film. Again, thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
So before we go, Marie, if somebody wanted to reach you, how can they do that?
Riri Loves You on Instagram and the Clap It Up Movement on Facebook.
Okay. And Melissa?
At Muganzo Entertainment on Instagram, at Melissa_Muganzo on Twitter, and at Melissa Muganzo Murphy on LinkedIn. And then, like my girl Charmaine said, at MuganzoEntertainment.com.
Yeah, don't feel good to hear your name, girl.
Right.
That's your name. That's your family name, girl.
That's your name, girl.
All right, making it a legacy all day.
That's
okay.
right.
Black Legacy. And you can also find me right there on social media on Facebook. You can find me at Lady Charmaine. Also, Black Sisters Making Friends, the one with the two hearts. And if you're on Instagram, at I Am Lady Charmaine. And don't forget to get your tickets to our Black Sisters Making Friends Girlfriend Celebration Brunch. Tickets are also available at Marion Berry's Beauty right there inside Florence Square. Or go online to eventbrite.com and just put in Girlfriend Celebration.